Start off the Ayrshire campaign against the bedroom tax. First week I had 2 people. Towards the finishing, before I moved, we were ending up with like 20 to 30 people coming for assistance to fill in DHP forms. And also this is when the pressure started with the councils and housing associations around people's arrears. I'm also one of the coordinators of the Scottish Anti-Eviction Army. Was it December at Pollock, was it? It was the first eviction. We were quite successful in that one and managed to get it prevented. A lot of people who said to us when they're going to speak to people for help, Welfare Rights is telling them one thing, Citizens Advice is telling them another, the council's telling them another. It's like people are being pushed from pillar to post. Although they're saying the bedroom tax in Scotland doesn't exist, we've still not had any clarification of what way they are going to administer this. There's a lot of people we can't reach because there's still a kind of stigma around being that poor that you can't afford something. It's just being there and showing people, look, we're still here, we're still active. Every council's going to do this differently and it shouldn't have been done, it should be done the same way for every local authority in Scotland. And we're still in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in England and Wales. So that's my wee bit.
Thank you, Karen. Mr. Black.
Yeah, just to say the poverty that we're now facing in our communities are massive. I went to a meeting on food banks and the person from the Trussell Trust said that they had a food bank in our area. It was run out of a garage. That was fine. The person was perfectly nice. And he said to me, we cannot create dependency. We give it out 3 times a year.
3 referrals.
So 3 referrals to people who are starving every bloody day are getting 3 bags per year that last 3 days. And he used the word dependency, right? That we didn't want to give it out every day. We need to create a different structure of support and whatever. In North Edinburgh, we're planning to operate a big kitchen, right? We've called all the community centres in, and they have agreed that they'll do the distribution. The mosque kitchen, the big mosque kitchen here, has agreed to give us twice a week 300 meals. We want to bring people collectively together, to give them strength and support through that mechanism. There's £35 million worth of cuts coming through the Edinburgh Council. At one point, it will turn from paper to reality. What we wanted to do was to talk to other people in Scotland about the idea, or know the charities coming together. Because when we talk about communities fighting back over fracking, over poverty, right, we'll look separate. But actually, we need to unite together. And really that's I think this weekend, the whole weekend, is to identify how that might be done. Where is the authentic voice of the communities? When Karen was on the telly last night, right, the other night there, talking on the STV, talking about poverty. But that's few and far between, you know? The cameras for the STV should have been in rooms like this, recording our voice and what we've got to say. They should have been photographing and filming yesterday the demonstration or the different groups that had come to mobilise against it. So we've got an issue that we are being victimised. Poverty is now a criminal activity to be poor, and we're not having it. And we want to fight back, and we want to unite.
Let me just make a projection here. Make sure these buggers that call themselves MSPs and MPs and councillors work for you. Now you have to start calling them to book. And the other thing you could do, apart from holding people to account, putting your stuff on YouTube, is every time you see a letter or an article in the paper that mocks or ridicules or makes fools out of people who are on benefits, stigmatise them, bunch of spongers, scroungers, phone that paper up, write that paper letter, say, stick that article up your arse, because I've seen stuff in the Daily Mail that I've found downright offensive about benefits people, and I got in touch with the people who'd made Benefits Street. I said, you took a handful of people, you didn't tell them what you were doing or the context in which you were making this show, and you tried to stigmatise the whole of the unemployed in Britain, of which there are 3 million, into being lazy, good for nothing, drug taking wasters. I noticed somebody filming this route put these meetings on YouTube every opportunity and spread the word that way. That's it. Thank you.
It's all very well sitting here talking and stuff like that, but really you have to get into your communities and you have to be active in your communities. I'm involved in Greater Leith campaign against the cuts, and I also happen to be involved in Disability History Scotland, and I think it's important that these venues, if you like, are there to enable people who want to do something positive. And even if it's just delivering leaflets, putting leaflets through doors, speaking to people and stuff like that, that's more than enough. Come along to the anti-cuts groups meetings. Get involved with your community.
The majority of workers are still in recession. They're still scraping to get by, and they're piecing that together with a part-time job here and maybe another part-time job there, plus some benefits, and those are our allies as well. Everybody in together. If the Tories can divide the employed from the unemployed, then they're winning. At the benefits processing centre in Glasgow, a PCS workplace of about 800 or 1,200 workers, I can't remember. I was there on the picket line last year when the PCS was on strike. I got to speak to those workers. I did not, myself, as a socialist, realise there are people in that workplace, 40% of them are on benefits, working in the benefit centre, and they're taking payday loans. Imagine processing other people's benefit claims and living on a payday loan to get from pay packet to pay packet. Some people would say the PCS should have come out stronger against ATOS. They're worried about their jobs and their children and their car payments and their, everything, their food. There are people in the PCS who are going to food banks as well. So we don't want to have false divisions. We want everybody to pile in together. We know who our enemy is. The enemy is that 1%, the Tories, the bosses and the bankers who created the crisis. They're trying to divide us against each other. We need to all work together as much as possible, maximum unity for maximum strength, because we can beat them. That's what the bedroom tax and the ATOS campaigns show us. We can actually beat them.
I remember the miners' strike. We used to have families round for dinner nearly every night, every week. I didn't ever expect to get to this age to be going back through this again. The problem is the media and the Tories are making poverty now acceptable. If you said food banks 5 years ago, nobody would have a clue what you were on about. You say food banks now, it's I was doing the other week there. They're normalising it, and their main target in normalising it is so people think it is acceptable. It's not acceptable. The pressure they're putting folk under. I've done the Access to Welfare Fund. I'm quite a clever lassie, but that form bamboozled me. I'm helping other folk with these forms because they don't ken they're there. We need to stop making poverty acceptable, and we also need to make folk realise, I've heard this, you can't be poor, you've got an iPhone. I've had my phone for 2 years, my mother pays it. Poverty is when you're raising yourself and Elaine half less than £60 a week after your costs. We need to support people in the job centres too. I had a wee woman that was signing on beside me who was howling because she didn't know how to work a computer, right? She was late 50s. I went to the library where we set up her wee account, I talked her through it, fund her computer course. The Brew would have sanctioned that woman if she hadn't got that assistance to do it, and they'll no give folk the assistance. I'm not saying every job centre's the same, but I have noticed a big change in the attitude of the staff towards people. And they do treat you like a bit of scum. We need to also get folk that's working to realise this could be you. It can turn in a heartbeat. The media, as a friend there was saying, the media is drip feeding everybody the idea that we're all in Benefit Street. We need to get the idea out here that poverty isn't just something that's an individual's fault, it's structural, it's no individual. That's my comment.
Between January 2000 and December 2012, there was 12,800,000 sanctions in the UK. It's not new. Sanctions were, even the 10 years the Labour Party were in government in this country. It's horrific what's been happening in this country, even past 14 years. It's just horrendous.
This is where some of the difficulty lies, right? When it's down to the nitty gritty and you're standing in front of somebody and they're saying we're sanctioning you because you've not done it, it's very, very difficult to say to that person, brother or sister, be a trade unionist when they're acting in that manner, Now they are and can be the agent. What we've got to make sure is that we have to have an argument with the unions about support. The Unite Community sector as a new sector formed by the Unite the Union, right? And I think that we need to be signing people up and creating them into branches so that they can have a voice inside the trade unions. They can go to the TUC, they can go to the STUC. But at the bottom line, I think we still have to argue with the arguments that present us. It would be nice to have a nice, clean set of ideas that we could all unite round and everything's hunky-dory. But when you're fighting sanctions or you're fighting food bank, the imposition of food banks or whatever, the need for that, then you have to come up with some ideas in our communities of how that's going to be done, how you win people to our support. If you call a public meeting, you can't just be abstract. You can't say, we need the unions and if we all fight together, we'll drown the bastards, right? That, spit together, that, when you go, or Disney go, unless you can concretise it down to the reality of what people are talking about. That is leafleting, and we've leafleted on numerous occasions, all the workplaces in our area, calling for support, arguing our argument and trying to make the link between those in work and those earning. But the vast majority of people who are affected by the bedroom tax are disabled, and also many people are actually in work. That's the new reality. People can be in work and be in poverty.
You want to say something about your experiences in Fife?
Well, I work in employability, and we've got a job club in Glenrothes, Open Your Learning Centre. It's run by the council, but that job club in particular, we've got good strong links with the food bank. We provide food for folk when they come in, so they get like hot soup, meals and stuff that serve to punters when they come in. I've got a client, Leslie, very, very vulnerable person. The job centre are wanting to sanction her for no applying for jobs. When she does apply for jobs, they're accusing her of applying for jobs that she's not capable of doing. And that was her comment to me on Friday. And we've had to go, obviously, to the local MP, Lindsay Roy. He's well versed, he's very, very helpful. But these are some of the examples that are coming through in the job centres now. It's getting even more extreme, that people are applying for bloody work and they're being accused of applying for jobs that they're not capable of doing. This is what you were talking about earlier. The perfect storm has come along and the perfect response it's not been matched with that, has it? Anywhere near it. It's quite bizarre how there's no anger in communities. Whereas maybe 30 years ago there would have been a huge amount of torrent anger.
It's more individual now than collective.
Absolutely.
It's
strange.
As I say, folk don't realise it happens to themselves. And when they look for that support and can't find it, like that, tell you was coming months ago. That's a big, big problem. I feel the collective's away and it's individual.
I was going to answer that last point about the anger. Where is the anger? I think the anger is there. The big difference is that, as Willie pointed out, 30, 40 years ago, people were angry about what was happening, but they had outlets for the anger. It could be your trade union, because most people, even in the housing estates and social housing, belonged to trade unions, or they were associated with trade unions through their family. Or their anger could find an outlet in the Labour Party, because the Labour Party represented people who were poor, who were in poverty. That was an outlet for an anger. Now all these struts, if you like, have been kicked away because of privatisation and fragmentation of the workforce, because of the failure of the Labour Party to engage with people in working class areas now, and because of the way poor people have been driven out of the cities, if you like, and into fragmented schemes. There are no outlets for these anger, and I believe that that is one of the reasons that, for example, mental health is becoming a huge issue in working class schemes in poor areas, because that anger is very destructive, but it gets turned inward, it turns against ourselves. You see it in England, it tends to turn to UKIP, where the anger is directed against immigrants, and here the anger gets turned against other people, and that is one of the huge problems, is where's the outlet for the anger? Where is the working class organisations that can take that anger, focus it and turn it against the people we should be angry with, which is, I would say, the class enemy. Things have maybe changed in 40 years, but I do believe there is a class war, and the ruling class have virtually won it. They've taken over all the systems of power, they've taken over all the political parties, they've taken over almost at every level, including the churches, I think, which are throwing the the crumbs. I think their point about the Thistle Trust, as I understand it, Thistle Trust gets funding from local authorities, but again, they're not allowed to give food away to anybody that's hungry. They're only allowed to give food to people who are deemed by the social work department or whoever as being worthy of that food, the deserving poor, if you like. And all that anger is there, it's been turned inwards, it's not been focused against the real enemy.
And I'll back you up on that. Can I just say this? Because there are a lot of people having a lot of hardship in this country. I mean, I could tell you stories last day about people who've been to ATOS and come back with horror stories, including my own brother, who was told that if he could walk around a table this size and carry a 1 kilo bag of sugar, he was fit for work beside, you know, in spite of having 5 diagnosed separate conditions within his body. 2 of them last year nearly killed him, including a stroke. But that guy's fit to work according to the government. Where is the anger in this country against that? Who speaks on TV from the Tory party, Labour party, the SNP, any party, that says, I'm bloody angry about what's going on in Britain? I think we've all become very accepting and we've just lying down and taken it. Quite frankly, I really do. Because who's voting in all these Tory governments? Who's voting in all these Liberals to stand together and make a fully ordinary working class people? It's not us in Scotland, which is why Alex Salmond says, yes, independence, then you get the government you vote for. But it might take the whole country splitting up to bring about justice in one part of Scotland, which hopefully will spiral and manifest itself in all the other parts of the United Kingdom for all the other working class people, because it goes against my grain to vote independence being a socialist. Socialists are people who take a world view. I'm not a nationalist, I'm not a patriot, I'm not somebody who waves the flag of Scotland or runs about wearing tartan. The only reason I would like to see independence is because I've been told that it might herald a new beginning for this country. And that's what we all want, surely.
We could create popular assemblies. We could move to the stage where in an independent Scotland, if we were radical enough and fighting enough, not to be handed out just that MSPs are going to speak for us, but actually we go to an evolved democracy, right, about argument and about people coming together to say what kind of Scotland they would want. And that needs to be fought for if that's going to be what the yes is. If it's no, then what's going to happen? We need to be ready for the no, right, as well as for the yes. And for me, having campaigned for yes, I'm out in the streets canvassing and knocking on doors and stuff like that. But I recognise if there was a no, then what we've got to have is confidence. The problem about the moment is that we are many, they are few. Why do we not beat them? Why do we not beat them? We didn't beat them because we're not united enough, right? Individually we lack power. Collectively we have all power. Nothing's fundamentally changed. There's 27 to 30 million workers in this country, and if they said we want a different kind of society, they could do it like that. The question is, it's always in our heads. And when we're arguing with people, when they say it's those Romanians that are taking our jobs, well, I say, how come it's the Romanians? I thought the Romanians took the Polish workers' jobs, who took the West Indians' job, and then somehow, somewhere way back, somebody in a scheme had a job. Actually, nobody's taking our jobs. We're all the same. We're all Jock Tamson's parents. The question is, we can't allow racism to divide us. We can't allow people's different circumstances. And if we're the voice in our community, what if we start for 2 or 3, we know if we call a public meeting in our area and we leaflet in whatever, we're not going to get everybody to turn up. But if we stick at the job, mobilising where we can, uniting across Scotland and England and Wales, I believe that on the 5th of April, the bedroom tax in Scotland has called for a mobilisation in support of England and Wales, and to fight for the 15 million to be released.
I mean, I hear what you say, Willie. It's the people at the bottom end of the scale. Whether you want to have a description that encapsulates them all, I don't know. But it's the people that are at the bottom of the end of the scale. The people at the bottom end of the scale have been disempowered. So it's a question of re-empowering them. And I didn't see trade unions or any of the established previous dinosaurs, if you like, doing anything to achieve that. I see communities themselves supporting themselves and empowering each other as a way to build the movement that will inevitably, I think, overturn what's happening today.
We've got to make MPs, MSPs and councillors work for us. Second one is to bombard social networking with the facts of what the cuts are doing. Third would be to contact the press and challenge all of the media lies. Need to take the fight into our communities, link in with the other groups and campaigns, ensure that unemployed, underemployed and all workers are supported to come together in unity. Don't allow these conditions to be normalised, make it clear that poverty isn't acceptable. Bring the strength of the trade unions with the campaign groups and ask them for support. The perfect storm needs a perfect response. And I think the groups need to link in, and we need unity, coordination and information sharing between all the groups.